From the time we are born to the time we die, we are constantly growing and changing, both physically and mentally. We start off from a very young age with no perception of the world around us and unknowing of the future that lies before us. Moving from one stage of our life to another is sometimes a smooth transition, but can be hard other times as there is a lot of change involved. When I first went to elementary school, I was starting the first major phase of my life. I had to make new friends, meet new teachers, learn the layout of my new school, all while making sure I stayed on track with my grades. Even though grades didn't matter as much in elementary school as they did in high school or now in college, what I learned was the basis of what would then be applied for the rest of my life. I am lucky to have a supportive family that is constantly encouraging me that no matter what I do or where I go, I can always achieve the goals I set for myself. This comes into play much more when I moved on to the next phase of my life, middle school. Once I had just gotten used to the light and playful mood of elementary school, I entered into a new world full of kids who were bigger and older than me and who had begun to form minds of their own. I would say that middle school is where most kids make up their minds to whether they want to stay on track with school or begin to diverge from the norm. Starting in middle school, my grades and academic performance began to matter much more as they would not only determine what classes I was placed in for high school, but also help me to determine what friends I would have. Aside from the mental and emotional changes you go through in middle school, you also go through a set of physical changes. Some are good and some are bad. This was a stressful time because all of these kids are physically changing and I was comparing myself to the rest, wondering if I was going to change and be as good as everybody else. These are not just the thoughts that I had though. I know these are the thoughts that almost all kids have during this phase. Once you get into your middle school groove and figure out what you're going to be about, it's time to put your knowledge and worth to the test in high school. Sometimes your high school grades are even more important than your college grades because once you're in a university, all you have to do is pass to get your degree, but your GPA matters a lot more when universities are deciding whether you'll be a good fit at their school or not. High school can have some of the greatest times in your life, or it can also be a miserable time if you are involved with a lot of drama. High school brings a new level of independence since most kids have cars and jobs. It allows them to do and see more than they have been able to before. During high school, I bought my first Honda and did minor upgrade work here and there since I have such a passion for cars. This was a big step in my life because not only was I taking a huge step for a passion that I've always had, but I also opened up a new world of movement and transportation for myself. This will also allow me to upgrade cars later on, which I will talk about soon. Once I had stepped up and overcome the challenge of high school, it was time for me to move on to my greatest task yet, college. The move to college has so many factors involved and definitely forces you to evaluate how you live your life to make sure you'll be okay moving to this new place. First, there is a physical movement to live on the campus, which is something I had to adapt to all in itself. It takes a good amount of responsibility to live away from your parents in a place that has essentially no rules and you will get to make all your own decisions. Even the decision to go to class is one that I'm faced with daily. Once I was in college, I had decided that I was responsible enough to upgrade cars to something faster and better, so I bought my next car, an Acura. This car was an outward representation of my own growth in a few ways. First, it was my physical transportation that got me from point A to point B, including college, which allows me to gain more information and wisdom. Also, I keep modifying the car, which means that it goes through a series of changes every so often just like I do. We hope these changes make you better. You always want to keep growing, but anyway, back to college. This move to college is very similar to the hero story. I am going into an unfamiliar place to gain knowledge. One story of this is the King Arthur story, where he and Gawain have to travel into an unknown village and seek information that they desire, what a woman wants most. Even though the king did not find out the answer to his question during his quest, if he had not had the opportunity to travel to find the answer, he may not have found it, causing his own death. Both physical and mental movements are critical to one's growth and development. Alright, so basically I'm doing the last part of this video from in the car. So I've been talking about growing up, and I think it's pretty important. I'm in the car right now. So this is one of my modes of transportation, and so you can really relate this topic to a topic of like justice and peace. So I was talking about immigration in my last video, and I think it's pretty important. If I wasn't able to travel, then I wouldn't be able to get out and see things that I would be able to see or learn, or a lot of those things. So I think it's really important. So as far as relating this to a peace and justice topic, I believe that, as far as just the immigration laws, I don't know, I think they could be a little less harsh, because really, what they're going to add to our country anyway, and so what do we really have to lose by, letting them in anyway, so I think that's my take on the topic.